Hello, hello. Thank you for joining this evening. We have Akila tonight. Before we get started, I just want to do some introductions. My name is Naima. This is my sign name. I am a pre-licensed therapist. Also, I'm the founder of Deaf Mental Health Hub, which is a mental health center and wellness for deaf people to share resources with each other. I'm going to give a visual description of myself. I have on a stripe sweater, three different colors. The first layer is gray, the middle is cream, and then the last layer is pink, like a dusty rose. I am sitting in a chair. My wall is white. You may see the head of my dog walking by in the bottom half of the screen. I'm going to pass it over to Akila. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Akila English. This is my sign name. I want to provide a visual description of myself. I identify as a Black woman. I have on a black shirt with black eyeglasses, with hoop earrings. I have long locks. I am sitting in front of an off-white wall. Thank you, Naima, saying thank you for joining us this evening. Before we go ahead and proceed, I want to tell all the community members, everyone who's involved, everyone, I'm going to thank the interpreter volunteers, all the people that make this possible, make things accessible for the community at large. Again, like I said, we're gonna make this accessible. So the first post of the live, it was a little awkward. There was a banner that was, tickering across the screen and it was hard to understand, but so hopefully this is better. And again, with the feedback, please send us any if you have some. You're welcome see community care in action. This is more of an opportunity for community members to come here and see how we're able to benefit from each other, support each other. I know there's a lot of things with politics happening out in the world, ICE, police violence. So everyone who really, can benefit from joining us here this evening. It is okay. Some things you like, some things you may not like. You can pick and choose what best suits you and apply to your own toolkit. It's important to be respectful of each other's opinions and perspectives. So again, I want to thank all of you for coming. So now I'm gonna pass over to Keela. The floor is yours. Hello, everyone. Naima reached out to me regarding how do we encourage community care? What have I learned on my journey thus far? And so I was a little hesitant. I was like, what do I do? So, it was some food for thought, and I had to sit and think about it. I was thinking about the importance of setting up emotional boundaries. It's really important. So, before I go ahead and continue and explain what that is, for so long, it's been, you know, enjoyable. I was a people pleaser and I wanted to please everybody. And I became so lost being a people pleaser. I didn't know how to take care of myself. I was burnt out easily. I cried often. I felt so overwhelmed. And it wasn't until I started my PhD program. And PhD programs are very hard because of the emotional aspect. Dealing with trauma and abuse. And I was invested into that. And I also own my own business, Lei, that provides consultation work as well. And so I had no boundaries to the point where, I was gaining more weight. I was becoming more frustrated and angry, constantly. avoiding different things I had to handle. And it wasn't until I finished my PhD, it's like a light bulb went off. Like Rosa Parks, that saying, when she got on the bus and she sat down and she took her seat and she was like, nah, that is exactly how I felt. Nah, like I ain't with it. I ain't doing it. Nah, I don't want to. I'm not. So I was able to learn the word nah and AH. It's no. And the word no is healthy. And the word no has taught me to establish emotional boundaries because people will take advantage of me. And if I die and when I'm buried and I want to be happy for me, not for anyone else, for me. So the concept of no is for self-care to my self-respect. And self-respect for the first time that I had that self-respect is it was so liberating once I started saying no and establishing those boundaries. When I finished my PhD, I was able to lose weight. I started reading more. If people asked me to do things, I would say, no, I can't. If I was asked to percent, I would say, no, I can't. Um, I started to establish strong boundaries. And if I didn't feel like it, that's okay too. It's okay not to feel like it. And I love it. This is Naima. So you were carrying the burden of a lot of things. You on your PhD journey, the system, navigating that system. And for yourself, you maybe felt like it was weird to say no to people. You were hesitant. Because you're a people pleaser, and oftentimes it's not comfortable. This is Akila. We live in a culture where, we grind. A grind culture is very popular here. We live in a capitalistic society where it's all about me, our money, what we're doing. And the PhD is part of that business. Establishing myself as a professional, gaining money and income. You need to pay the bills. Part of that is, capitalistic. Everything is based on money. How you survive is based on money. And I started to realize that you needed to live within that grind culture, and I didn't want to partake in that. Who is Aquila? Who am I? It was really weird. It was very strange. I had to relearn myself and I had to say no. And without feeling guilty, I had to release. It started to become natural. And so 1 year later, here I am, and I'm more of an expert at saying no. But compared to where I was 2 or 3 years ago, I'm so much better, but there's still room for improvement. This is Naima, those years of saying yes, many years of saying yes to this, yes to that, and starting to say no, it rewires your brain and it rewires your emotions as well. You may feel hesitant, it's new, and then you're so entrenched in being a people person, you have to let go of those thoughts and build new patterns. And this is Dr. English. It's so liberating. And when people recognize the word no is a beautiful, that's what we need to recognize. It's a beautiful word. And it helps you keep yourself. And I realized self-care is important. It's not about drinking water. It's not about exercising. It's not about emotional boundaries. But emotional boundaries is where stress, it drains you. So having self-respect with emotional boundaries, those things coincide with each other. People often thought no was bad, but it's really not. It's really not a bad word. This is Naima. What is your advice for people who are on that journey trying to figure out how to say no? People who are people pleasers, what is your advice from your experience for them to start that process? This is Dr. English. The moment you like quease or you feel like you're coming into yourself, your shoulders hunch, you have a physical reaction, your body becomes tense. It folds into itself. Your body is trying to communicate with you instinctively. And so you should honor that. The minute you feel some kind of it feels off and you know how we dismiss things, the more you dismiss your intuition, the more you push things off, it becomes self-neglect. So pay attention to the signs. If you're tired, it's okay to say no. Once you say no and I you don't feel guilty. No is easy and it's easy to fall into this guilt trip. But you have to remind yourself, it's not about those people. They'll be all right. Trust me, they'll be all right. They'll figure it out. One thing that impacted me is I told people as it pertains to jobs, don't overinvest in your work. Because if you are gone and you die tonight, they'll find someone to replace you tomorrow. Naima, that's true. You know, they'll grieve you for 1 or 2 days, then boom, they'll post that job posting so quick and then they'll life would go on. So the point is, don't feel guilty. Do not feel guilty for saying no. Do it for yourself. This is Naima. Like you said, it's so important that you said pay attention to your body. It's trying to communicate things to you. In that moment, if you're not ready to answer the question, the request, whatever it may be, maybe, you know, you can say, "Hey, can I have some time to think about that?" Give yourself a pause to actually say no. In the moment, you may feel accountable or pressure, but it is okay to pause, ask for a minute, and then continue that way because you don't want to respond impulsively. You know, what if you want to say no, but you don't have the practice saying no yet? That was me. That was me. I just should have said it, you know, you just say it. And also dealing with trauma too, having faced abuse, um, you know, having those people pleasing tendencies, oftentimes it is hard to say no, but it is okay and a necessary thing to do. So in practice, you realize that certain things that we do are trauma responses and it's tied to the system. Black and brown people often have to prove ourselves to prove that we're worth it. And Dr. English is saying we often feel that we need to be in process because we always know in the back of our mind we don't like dealing with confrontation. And but I've arrived at the point where I tell people I don't owe them an explanation. The answer is no, period. It's not up for discussion. And if people try to engage in discussion with me, I just tell them I don't want to discuss it because I now have boundaries. You know, not today. You know, I can say not today. I'm not comfortable discussing this. I don't owe anyone an explanation, and that's still a version of a boundary. And it feels so good. Sometimes we can interpret it as, "Ooh, Akila, you know my personal story. You know what I've been through. You know all the things that has taken me to arrive here to make this decision. So you want to interpret, however they interpret it is up to them. That's their problem that they would have to figure out how they interpret it. I know no is good for me. It's healthy for me. And I don't owe anyone an explanation as to why I said no. No, finish, exactly. To self-disclose, I am a recovering people pleaser. It's been a process of undoing this and unlearning these habits and learning different ways. I am still a work in progress. And it says, Dr. English, same. But if you say no today, just stay with that. 1 year out of people pleasing, celebrate that. Celebrate those little wins. Celebrate the times that you say no, and then you'll be able to build more confidence from there. And that's so important. You just have to take the first step, Naima is saying. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's not going to feel normal to you, but celebrate those small wins and those small victories because it's important. Okay, we have some technical difficulties. Um, Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I provide training on how to dismantle the system by centering marginalized folks through education systems, housing, a variety of different systems, medical, industrial complex. That was a good way to wrap up. This is Naima, so I just want to thank you. This is the interpreter. We're freezing. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. And my last thought is no is not a bad word. Just remember that and go forth and be great. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this video up now. Thank you for everyone who's joining us. We have one more after this at 8, and it's related to habits. So thank you so much for joining tonight. Have a great one. Bye bye.